right, what's up, you dirtbags? My name is Luke Egerbrotten. I'm your host today of the Dirtbags podcast. We've got an exciting episode coming up. We got the birthday party, and so a little backstory here. The Dirtbags podcast, Luke Payne and I, we started this February 2022. So this will be our third birthday. Our first guest was Aaron Witt, the man who in charge of BuildWitt, started it from the ground up. So excited to celebrate our third year birthday kind of on this episode. And more important than that is going to be our guests that we're having on. If you guys have listened to our show, if you know anything about us, you've actually seen their episodes we've had on before, but you likely listened to their podcast as well. So this is the podcast birthday party. I'm so stoked to welcome in Jeremy and Steve from the Snowjobs Podcast. Boys, it's good to have you back on.
What's up, brother?
Yeah, how's it going, buddy?
Man, it's going well. I love how quickly we can pick up on this stuff because Steve, if I remember, I think it was yesterday you texted me.
Yeah. Yep,
and
absolutely.
We said, absolutely, let's get it together. And that's what I love about talking with you guys, because a lot of it is just catching up. The questions are already in my head. The questions are in your guys' head, but really it's just catching up and having fully organic conversations. So with that, for anyone listening who doesn't know Jeremy or Steve, you can check them out on Instagram first. Jeremy would be at Glacier Snow Management, and then Steve would be at All Hands Landscaping, and I believe it's at the Snowjobs Podcast. So
yes, sir.
Give all three of those a follow. But stemming off of that, as you guys can probably guess, they have their own podcast. There's so much overlap with our listeners. So if you listen to the Dirtbags and you don't listen to theirs, go check it out. It's on all platforms. It is the number 2. It is in the top 2% of podcasts in the world from Listen Notes. And can't wait to dive in more with you guys. But welcome to the show. I'm super, super excited to dive in.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
So got to start off with, obviously, you guys are in the snow industry, and so this is your busy time. Frankly, I'm surprised we're able to do this, but how busy are you guys this time of year when it comes to the podcast, when it comes to running your own businesses, and everything else that you guys do?
Jeremy, you want to take it?
I mean, it always depends on the weather for how busy we are. It's up here in North Dakota where I'm located in Fargo. It's been another slow winter, mainly for us again. We're not getting the winters like we used to. We've been out a few times, or more than a few times. We've been out, but we just haven't been out frequently. We don't have it. So as of now, it's honestly pretty laid back. I mean, we go out when we need to. We hauled snow last night, stuff like that. But it's that business is day to day has been kind of trying to find something to do. If it's not snowing around here, so it hasn't been too crazy.
Has it been pretty cold up there? I know when I was back, it was 37 degrees over Christmas. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was this week. We were cold for a while. Today when we're recording this, it's pretty decent. It's in the 30s, but it sounds like next week it's gonna be down below zero for like negative 10 on Monday for a high or something. So it doesn't sound good coming up. So it sounds like but yeah, it's been not great.
Yeah, and then Jeremy, with your setup with Glacier, and I believe we talked about this on the last podcast, the COO of Snow, that we had you on. How do your payments typically work? Are you more seasonal contracts per plow? Like, how does Glacier typically do that?
Most of our contracts with Glacier, I would say, I think they're around 60% of seasonal, and then we have hourlies and we have per times, but mostly if it's not seasonal, it's per hour event. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, you got to try to have some seasonal, help you out in these slower years. Hopefully you can cover your overhead. Obviously, it's the main goal, and then make it up on extra stuff you got to do. So
yeah, and I think too, diversification is probably big because there's no clear right answer, I believe, because you have years where it snows every single day and you have record years, and it can be great, but depending on how your contracts are set up, or what you have set up, it can sometimes screw you over and put you out of business. So
absolutely, again,
Steve, I know Steve, you're out east, and I have down here, it's Fishkill, New York, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what has the weather been like out for you guys? Because I know Doug Castle. Black Rock.
We've had
Like
a throwback. We've had a throwback winter to like what I
okay.
remember as a kid, where we've been locked down with cold for 40 days now. I think we've only had 3 or 4 days above freezing in the last 45. It's been cold. It's been snowy. None of the major nor'easter big dump snow events that we're used to the last 5, 6 years, but we've gotten a lot of like what Jeremy's used to, where we're getting a dusting to 2,
Yeah.
dusting to 4. We're in that range. Like I think the most we've had this year is a 6 inch, 5.5, 6 inch, and that was in November. Everything else has been like 4 inches and less. So, but we've had the number of events where normally we are lower number of events with bigger dumps, and this year we are higher number of events with a lot less snowfall. But we're doing great as far as everything. It's been busy, but we're getting it done. It's tough to juggle. Like your original question was,
Yeah.
it is tough to juggle. Um, like this time of year, it's basically a phone call or a text from me and Jeremy, like on a Thursday afternoon, saying, "Holy shit, dude, we gotta get an episode done. Uh, we gotta get something lined up." So this time of year, we usually dial back on the scheduled guests because it's so
Yep.
tough. Everybody's pushing snow. Everybody we talk to is pushing snow. It's tough to line up a guest and not have anything get in the way of that scheduled time. So we do a lot of the group chats, pick a
Yep.
topic, and Jeremy loves those. They're like you said, they're organic. We have a lot of fun. We got a lot of good friends that from the show, and before the show, we just bring them on and basically have at it. Whatever
Yeah.
goes, whatever goes.
But isn't that
we don't have much in the coffer waiting for this to
Right.
drop.
No,
So
no,
we
it's
just kind of
sometimes
play by the
bad
seat of our
too.
pants. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like this episode too, though. You don't need much in the hopper, right? And
No,
I had the ability to, in my line of work, we work with a lot of guys that you guys are good friends with, and that are that own companies that do commercial snow removal in the winter, and so I got to go out east and see you guys for that. It was at Storks Plows, Gene Storks' place, Snow Alliance conference,
no
and
alliance. Yep,
just got to, and huge shout out to Gene for having me out there. Huge shout out for you guys for inviting me out there, but just really getting to be in that group and like see how you guys operate with each other. It's just a big group of friends, but I suppose the longer you've been doing it, the closer you guys all get, and the more you get to know each other.
absolutely,
definitely,
definitely.
I mean,
We've
like
go ahead, Jay.
this show has brought. I mean, we got a couple group texts going on our phone every day. Like, what started out with like Steve, like 8 guys, and I was like 20
It was
something.
the original, yeah. When we
Yeah,
started the show that first summer, we I invited a bunch of guys because we're local. I think we're Connecticut, Hartford was
yeah,
Sima,
Hartford.
and
Yeah,
Jeremy was coming out. Obviously, we were new with the show. We had been doing it like 4 or 5 months by that time, but it had obviously taken off already.
Yeah.
So we were doing the show. So I just put a call out to a bunch of guys we had already had on the show for the early episodes, and said, "Hey guys, who wants to come in a couple days early? Come to my house, and we'll hang out. We'll cook some good steak. Have some. We had Robert from Artie Outdoor in Maine. He brought fresh lobster like right off the dock, and
yeah,
we just had a great time with 10, 11 guys. It
yeah. I
was
know
like
what it was. Yeah,
it was
it
yeah.
was yeah, it was a good time. It was yeah. Robert said it best. I think when he had him on the show, he told his wife, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to some guy I met on the internet's house to meet some other guys and have a good time.
Yeah.
It's like
It sounds
sounds like
worse than it
It
is.
started.
yeah,
It sounded like a true crime start. The start of
yeah.
a true crime episode. Like, hey, I'm going to meet this
she's
guy.
she's like, where are you going? And who's gonna be there? He's like, I don't really know, but I'm going. So
But
Oh,
it was
that's great.
perfect. You put 10, 11 guys that had really. I mean, Jeremy and Putz, and James had known each other before Mitchell,
Yep.
but there were like 7 guys there that had never met that other group from out west,
Yeah.
and everybody after like 3 or 4 hours of just shooting the shit about snow and business, it was like we'd known each other 10, 20 years. It was
Yeah.
great.
Man, that's
I mean,
that's
I think
incredible.
everybody was sad for that weekend to end. Like when we all
yeah,
started going our separate
that was
ways, it
good.
was like, this sucks. Like, fuck, when can we do this again? Sorry, can I curse
Yeah,
on here? I don't know. Our
Oh,
show's pretty
it's the
liberal.
dirtbags. Of course you can
yeah.
curse.
All right.
Of
All
course,
right.
yeah,
Wasn't sure.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
a weekly listener. I tune in when I can.
Yeah, and
Yeah, no.
speaking of weekly listeners, so yeah, because Dirtbags, as you guys know, we do our episodes, every 2 weeks, and like we mentioned earlier, you guys are pumping these out every single week. So if you go back, we're 2 years since you started the podcast. You started, it was like January 30th, I believe, was the first episode, right?
It was.
I think
Yep.
so, yeah.
Yep. And
January
then
30th.
so January 30th, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I was just looking through the podcast and I saw on one of the episodes was like episode 36, and as you guys crossed 100,000 listens, and
Yeah.
and for us, we crossed 100,000 probably at episode 60 some or 70 some. So, like you said, it took off quick and early. Like, did you guys know that it was going to take off like it did?
I think we both thought there was a need for it because that's why
Yeah.
we did it. Because we love talking snow. We would do it on the phone. Like I think we said it on the first time with you guys. This whole thing came because we were talking snow all the time, and somebody said you guys should do a podcast talking snow. So I think we knew that there was a need out there. I would be lying if I told you I thought it was going to blow up to what it
Yeah.
has in such a
Right.
short time. But I mean, I remember looking at the first week's numbers. Like we dropped the first episode, and my buddy who has his own very successful podcast is giving me benchmarks. And he's like, all right, here. And I remember telling Jeremy, he's like, all right, listen, dude, if we get like between 0 and 300 listens, it's basically family and friends. You got nothing, pack it in. Like, don't even waste your time. If you get like 300 to 600, all right, do 2 more and see where you go. And
Yeah.
I want to say our first episode after 2 days was at like 1,800 listens or
Oh
1,900
my
listens.
gosh.
So it was like, oh shit, like okay, yeah. I remember telling Bobby, I'm like, hey, we got 1,800 after 36 hours or 48 hours here. He goes, you're bullshitting me. I'm like, no, I'm serious, dude. And he goes, well,
Wow.
then you got something. Strap in and keep going.
Man,
Yeah.
so
It was,
and I want to unpack that a little bit because I think that is also an anomaly. So people starting a podcast, like usually I would say get 30 episodes under your belt, get a year, 2 years under your belt. Um, but similar with the Dirtbags. I tell you what, it was because I had a podcast before the Dirtbags podcast called Phaser Friday, and we would do that once a month, and it was kind of stagnant. We'd have 75 downloads every episode, but then we came out the Dirtbags, and it was so niche specific and similar to you
Mhm.
guys. It was answering like something. It was answering a problem that people maybe didn't even realize they had. Like they needed this, they wanted this, and
Mhm.
to listen to other people like in their same niche, in their same industry. And that's what you guys have brought to the snow industry and what I think we've brought, to the dirt world. And so it's so cool to see you guys have success there. But uh, weekly episodes, where I was going with that, you guys have probably about 103, 105 episodes out right now when this episode launches. So have you guys missed a week, or how has that schedule like
Oh,
stayed on? You guys
Uh-huh.
just keep
Uh-huh.
going?
you can't miss a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's
We've
about
been
reliability.
close. We've been close.
We
We've
have.
been close.
We've been recording at 11 p.m., editing, and then dropping it at 5 a.m. on Monday because that's when we
Yeah.
drop them. Because
Yeah,
we used to drop them at 8 a.m. and then a couple guys said, "Hey, people that listen to your show, we're all working people here. We're all up early and we're driving to work. Can you release earlier?" So we're like, "Yeah, well, we can release anytime you want." So we started
Mhm.
for Pat Salmon. We started dropping it at 5 a.m. Eastern on
absolutely.
Mondays.
We
We got
do.
146 total, including all the specials and product profiles and stuff we've done. So 146 total episodes in 2 years.
Wow. Oh, I see. So the 103, that would be like the normal
That's the
weekly
main
one.
show.
Weekly,
Yep,
weekly show.
that's
And
the
then you
main
guys,
show.
because you guys do quite a few specials.
Mhm.
How does that work? Is that planned? Is that a part of the strategy, or is that just when you guys feel like doing a bonus or a special, or is that also worked in with their sponsorship maybe?
Some of them are planned. Some
Um,
of them are with the sponsor stuff. Like how we started doing the sponsorship was me and Jeremy both from day one when we were talking about, okay, this is going to be successful now. We got people wanting to get involved. How do we
Yeah.
handle this? What are we looking for? And we were both in lockstep. Like you, you're going to have a good reputation of taking care of your customer, standing behind your product. And if we could, we were hoping, I think we've done exactly what we set out to do. We set out to
Mhm.
take a lot of products that maybe weren't mainstream yet, but that were the next big thing, and all they needed was exposure and the right people looking at them, like muskox. Muskox is blown up. They're
Yeah.
killing it, and they are now like a household product. But that was important to us that we be able to get the little guys with maybe not to say little guys, but the guys without unlimited marketing funding
Hmm.
Mhm.
and budget to be able to get them exposure with real people, because that's who listens to our show. 90% of the people listen to our show are end users.
Yep.
They're the boots on the ground guys doing the work, the best kind of people on the planet, blue collar, dirt under their fingernails, hardworking, grinding guys. That's who's buying these products. And that's, if the product works for you, all we want to do, no one product works for everybody. But if we could say, hey, if you have a need in this space, this is a product that's stood behind by good people. It's a family-owned business. Take a look at it. See if it works for you. See if it'll make you better. And that's it. And I think we've done that, right, Jay? I mean,
100%.
Companies we've been involved with.
All of our sponsors have been great, and they've all been people that we want to work with. And number one, we actually use the products that they're selling.
Amen.
So that's that. We're the end users, and we stand behind them, I guess. And like you said, if they're going to stand behind the product, and it's a good product, we're gonna support them as well. So that's what we do. So.
Yeah, and we'll be the first ones to say if they're not. If they're not doing it, it's in the agreements. Just because you sponsor the show does not shield you from fire if you've earned it.
Yeah. And that is such a great point. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because that makes your end user trust them even more. It's like, okay, well, I know that Steve and Jeremy are going to talk. They don't give a shit if they talk crap about this product or if they love it. It's whatever their experience was, and that's how it should be. And so hats off to you guys for sticking to that, because that can be tough as you kind of build a callus and want to appease your sponsors and all of this stuff, but you just can't become that. And so hats off to you guys for always holding that standard. And also the vendors have to know that before jumping in with you. And of course, you guys walk through that with them. It's like, hey, these listeners, they listen to what we say. So make sure you take care of your customers. Make sure you're taking care of your products, your company, whatever it is. And because our listeners are going to be the first ones to know if you guys are slipping up on any of that.
And the great thing about it is it's not just us. We'll have people on as guests and say, hey, what are you running? Tell us your experience. And so it's not just making us happy. You got to make all the customers, as a manufacturer or a dealer, you got to make everybody happy, because you don't know who's coming on the show. And if they have a horror story about your product, it's now going out to 8,500, 9,000 weekly listeners that are in snow. So that could sink your ship real fast. So it behooves everybody to do the right thing at all times.
What a concept, right?
It's so foreign, crazy.
Right.
We've had some customers, some of our sponsors, a couple of them, they'll say, "Yeah, we want to come on. We don't want to act like we're selling something." Like, well, that's what we're trying to do, because they're just like we don't want to act like we're just trying to push something on them. I'm like, we're not. We're just telling them about your product. I mean, we're not pushing it on anybody. We're like, this is a good product, so we're gonna expose it. We're gonna tell everybody our experience and try move it for you. And it's worked really well.
So. Yeah, and that piece of it that you're just describing, that's the marketing, that's the branding, that's the exposure part. They still have to sell it. They still have to close the sale. Like, that isn't your job. That isn't a marketing agency's job. Those are two different things. And Jeremy, you laid it out very well there. It's like, you guys are just bringing exposure to it. A lot of these people might not have even heard of this company or understood what they do and why and how it can help their business. And so you guys are exposing that. But then at the end of the day, the end user needs to make the decision, and the company needs to close on the sale. So that's probably one of my favorite places to be, is where you just get to shed light on these companies, these products, and these brands, because at the end of the day, if it's a product or a service that you guys wouldn't use, you wouldn't be talking about it in that light anyway.
They're not getting past the gate. If it's a shit product with a shit reputation, or just when you're speaking in the original, contact, if the hairs just stand up on the back of your neck, you don't get a good vibe off the people. Hey, better go somewhere else. Like, we don't need you come to us because you need us. We don't need to make a false step. So we can be selective. And the important thing is, we will never tell any snow guys what to buy.
Yep.
Everybody's got a different setup, got a different financial structure, got a different way of doing the same exact thing.
Bingo.
All we're doing is, hey, listen, if you gotta, like me with the muskox, I have them, I use them, I love them, I know what it can do for me in certain spaces in my business. That's how I just say, hey, listen, if you have these complexes and this is what you're doing, take a look at this. Take a look at it, see if it works for you financially, if it fits into your business, because this will change the game for you on these certain complexes. And that's all we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
It's a slippery slope though when you start
Yep.
overtly pushing product on people. And I'm not
Right.
comfortable with that. I know Jeremy's not either. So it's like
No.
we're all big boys here. Everybody can make their own decisions. We're just
Yeah.
turning the light bulb on over the product.
So it's so important that you brought that up, because as a podcaster, like, we're just talking about this stuff and you assume that the end user is going to do their due diligence. However, a lot of people don't, and they just say, well, Steve told me to buy this, so I did, and
Nope.
my company went bankrupt. It's like, that's not how this works. Like you said, you still have to be a big boy, you still have to be a big girl, you still have to do your due diligence, you still need to educate yourself before you purchase. And I mean, for lack of a better term, you need to make sure you can afford it. Like,
Yeah, and I think most
Yeah.
people that listen to your show and most people that listen to our show, we're all adults. We're all,
Right.
serious, but this is
Yeah.
not a business for weak-minded people. So
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody that's going to say, "Oh, I'm going to buy this $20,000 thing because Steve said to." Like that's just that's moronic. That business is not going to
Right.
last long if that's your, if that's your mentality. You got to do your own homework, see if it works for you, and see if it works for your finances.
Oh,
That's the biggest
absolutely.
thing.
Absolutely. And like you said, you hope that's not the case, because if somebody told you that, you just laugh in their face, be like, you got to be kidding me right now. Like, this is, I don't know how you're in business right now, but no, like you said, I feel like the people that listen to the Snowjobs podcast, that listen to the Dirtbags podcast, they're already taking that next step and they're trying to educate themselves. They're trying to become familiar. They like the stories. They're doing something else than just listening to music, which I think is super helpful. And yeah, they're taking that next step. So I feel like our listener base between both of our shows is top tier,
Very
in
similar.
my opinion.
Yeah, and very similar.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. So
And they're very much, it's very much for our listeners. What we keep hearing over and over is it's a great thing to listen to just to tell us that we're not alone.
yeah,
Because
Right.
sometimes some of these guys are not part of big companies. Some of them are smaller outfits and they're in the truck, they're in the machine, they don't have headsets connected to the rest of their guys. They're by themselves. A lot of work we do is solitary. One guy in a truck, one guy in a machine. It's great to be able to put that on and feel like you're not alone. You're going through the same bullshit that we all go through across the
Mhm.
country. Doesn't matter who you are. And I think that's one of the things that made it so popular amongst guys.
Yep. I agree 100%.
yeah. I mean, Jeremy too. It's like what Steve. I don't know if you caught that, but yeah,
I
I
did.
saw Jeremy try to hit the mute button,
He
coughing
did.
in the mic, did not mute.
Did
Oh,
not mute.
I love it. But
Oh,
yeah,
good.
just kind of like you're talking about too, Jeremy. I believe that's kind of how you guys started with your group message, but then people listening into Glacier's calls and like how you did that, and it's just
Yep.
like, man, this is cool. Like, we should have other people listen to it, because it builds that camaraderie. Like, everyone's out there, and it sucks. Like, I hats
Yep.
off to all the snow fighters out there, because it is a thankless job, and you
Oh,
only
yeah.
get calls seemingly when there's something wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. Nobody calls you and tells you, "Oh, hey, you did a great job last night." I mean, the parking lot's great. Good work, guys.
Looks
What
perfect.
do we call it, Steve? The ferries came out there,
Oh, snow
whatever.
fairies. Yeah,
Snow
snow
ferries
fairies
came out
came.
and cleaned the lot last night, but man, if you miss a little smidgen on the sidewalk, that you're getting that call. So
Yeah.
we got to be perfect every time. That's what people don't
Most of what
understand.
most of what we do is in the dark after everybody's asleep and before everybody comes in. So, like our logo says, we own the night. It's everything we do is in the shadows, basically, with snow. At least a large portion of it. And
Mhm.
it can get lonely out there. So it's great to
Yeah.
be able to give guys an outlet and pass the time. Like a lot of guys save up episodes in the winter and they binge
Yep.
them when they get storms. And we are able to give them laughs because let's face it, we're not the most politically correct podcast out there. We say exactly what's on our minds and
Yep.
there's
Yeah.
no filter. I'm honestly shocked
Zero.
we haven't gotten flagged for explicit content yet, but we have no filter, we have no holds barred. It's say
Yeah.
what you want to say as long as don't just spout off if you don't have the evidence or information to back it up.
Yep. Yep.
Like
And
opinions are okay, but you need to have information to back up your opinion.
absolutely. And also, when it comes to like talking behind a business's back or a people's back, like, if they have to be on there as well, and you'd be willing to say the same thing. So,
Mhm.
one question I have for you guys, and I'm taking this a bit deeper, but do you feel like you've leveled up the public's perception on snow fighters, or is that not quite yet?
I don't think so. I mean,
No.
as for like we just said, we work in the night.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks snow just gets done magically. I mean, I think we're trying to bring it more to public eye that we, what we do. You know,
That's more storm
I'll
chasing
say it
than the
every day. I'll say it
podcast.
every day. I say this almost every show. We are an emergency service that that nobody thinks that we are, but we
Yeah.
are an emergency service, and we need to start being paid like one and gets. I don't know, recognition is not the term I'm trying to say, but we just need to. I don't know what the correct term to say on that, but it's not recognition, but
Respect.
it's respect. I guess you
Yep.
can say that. But
Yeah, and Jeremy, let me take a different stab at this because I noticed this in the septic industry. We do a lot of work, of course, in the septic field, and I was listening. I believe it was Dervin who's up there speaking, and he was saying, we are we aren't just septic pumpers. We are public health professionals,
Yeah.
and similar to what you said too, of just like this is an emergency service, like this is serious, and also too. Treating your guys, and so what he did and what they do is instead of a pumper as their label of their employee, it's a septic technician or it's a ex technician because it is serious work. They are public health professionals, but I see the same thing in the snow world, and I'm just wondering too, is that just because I'm so immersed in it, and how does the public feel? And I feel like they're just not seeing it quite the same way.
I think if we don't show up, they'll see it real quick.
True. Yeah.
If everybody
yeah.
decides, hey, if we unionized and said, hey, this area is getting snow tonight, everybody take the night off. We're not doing anything. It would be a standstill. Like when
Yeah.
when you get monster storms around here, and the state and the county they'll downgrade because it's not safe for them to be out when you're getting that kind of 30-inch storm. They will downgrade and downshift, and you see how impassable everything gets really quick when they're taking a break. And
Yeah.
if
They
everybody
take
did
breaks.
that,
We don't take
yes,
breaks.
we
I
don't
mean,
take breaks.
the
They do.
DOT stuff, they pull plows. I mean, we're like, our shit's open, ready to go. Their stuff isn't, but we don't have that. I mean, if we're doing critical infrastructures, like hospitals and
Mhm.
any kind of critical infrastructure has to have snow removal. And yeah, we do it, and it's
Yep.
we can't just can't see. We're gonna pull the plow. No, you have to. We've gone through and we've had to plow roads for ambulances to get through, or we've had to go pick up doctors, bring them to the hospitals for people. So,
Mm.
so you tell me. I mean, we're pretty critical. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to answer your original question, Luke, like I don't know how much of the public is listening to the
Right.
podcast in great numbers anyway. I mean, I'm sure there are non-snow people listening. But they have to, I would think, have some affiliation with snow at
Mhm.
some point along the line, somebody in their family, because Susie Homemaker's not finding this and tuning into this every week. I
Right.
just don't see that. But as far as
well,
bringing
listen to Rick
awareness,
James.
well, that's true. I mean, Jeremy does have a large following, but
Yeah.
Rick James of Snow. But I think as far as bringing public awareness into what we do, I think that would be more on the storm chasing on the video series side.
Okay, so that's a
That would
perfect
be more
segue
mainstream.
because I think this
This is
is
not my first
very,
time. This is not
yeah,
my first time.
this is beautiful. I
Should I
mean,
get
it's
the
like you're
coat?
going down
Should I
my
get the
list
coat?
here. So,
You should have the coat and hat.
so
I should.
let's talk storm chasing. So for people listening that are just meeting you right now, maybe they listen to a couple other episodes, storm chasing is new to them. I know what it is, but from your guys' perspective, what's coming down? Like, what is storm chasing? How did it start, and what can we expect out of it?
Want me to take that, Jay?
Yeah.
So storm chasing, like this got so big so quick, and the outpouring from snow guys to us, the support was so immense, so over the top. Like we had no idea it was coming, that it just kind of like they wanted more and more and more, and we wanted to give them more. Like we felt like the support we got from them, and with everything they've done for us, we just wanted to keep bringing them more stuff. So I had the idea that, we should really do like a follow snow companies plowing snow, just make
Mhm.
like a 30-40 minute music video basically
Mm,
of companies, and it promotes the company. It shows what they do. It shows their equipment. And for snow guys watching and heavy equipment guys, it's basically like snow porn for those kind of guys. They're going to watch that. They love watching snow videos. Whenever like we go to trade shows and we put 6, 7, 8 guys in a house, what are we doing? We sit on TV, we watch YouTube videos of guys plowing snow. So like if we could do something professionally
We
done
do.
with that, like that,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a home run right off the bat. And Jeremy agreed. And we said, we don't want to do this by ourselves. We're already time wise maxed out. We both have careers. The show has been a time consumption animal. Everything around the show, answering all the DMs, the emails, the phone calls every day. It's time that I'm not saying we're on borrowed time, but like there's not enough hours in the day with all the other stuff that Jeremy and I have to do
Right.
with our careers. And so we said we want to do this, but let's do this with friends. Like let's do this with people that share the same views as us. And we have we're very good friends with Jordan Smith over at Storm
Yep.
Equipment. Jordan well.
Shout out
Jordan
Jordan.
has the same forward-thinking vision of where he thinks the snow industry should be and where the guys in it should be. And we pitched it to him and said, "Hey, do you want to do this with us? Like this, I think this is a home run for Storm. I think it's a home run for us. I think snow guys will unilaterally love it. I think it'll be a hit. I really do." And I don't even think it was 5 seconds. Like I didn't even get through the whole like idea. And he's like, "We're in. Yeah, we're in.
We're in.
Just
Yep.
yeah, write it up." And we came up with the concept, and we Jordan got the video crew and the editing crew, Ghost Dog Media, and they're great people, and they're doing a phenomenal job. Jeremy had an episode already done out in Fargo, and they put out a teaser video, and I had not seen any of the footage prior. I could not make it. We were getting our own snow. I couldn't get out there, and it was phenomenal. Like the teaser, I was like, I am so
good.
excited to see this the vision come to life, come to fruition. So it was awesome.
It's great. It's gonna be a good time. I mean, like I said, we did the video here. They rode around with us. They filmed everything. They mic'd my guys up. And I mean, I don't know how much of that you're gonna be able to use, but because it's pretty R-rated stuff we talk about. So but no, it was a great time, and I don't know. I think it's gonna bring a lot of light. If guys stumble upon this YouTube, besides the normal snow guys, if people stumble upon it, like catch them off guard a little bit, what we actually go through tonight. I mean, so and as far as our video team, the Ghost Dog Media, those guys, I mean, they've never done snow. And
right.
We were out 3 nights in a row and all night long, and they stuck right by my side, and they're right there. So it was fun.
They can do it now. They can do snow now.
Now they're good. Yeah, now they're like, so yeah.
But, and I wanted to bring that up too, Jeremy, because Ghost Dog Media, I noticed too. I've been following them and seeing that this is it's hard to envision this. Like you sometimes from a 24 hours notice need to go. Hey, we're jumping on a plane and going to Ohio. Hey, we're jumping on a plane and going to New York, wherever this is for this storm chase or for this like docu-series, and because the snow's not going to wait and you need to get out there. And so a huge shout out to them for being involved and then just like being with you guys and like not just coming in on their own time. And then obviously huge shout out to Jordan. He's a trailblazer in the industry. And funny story is when he was actually a guest on my Phaser Friday podcast years ago, which
he told us.
Yeah, which is crazy because I mean, this is years ago. And so this is before, selling the company, before all that. And we're just like two entrepreneurs talking to each other because we're both like, I went to Mankato for school and he's from that area. And and it's so cool to see it all come around and his transformation in business and his life, and then to work with you guys, and it's all connected. And I just think this next chapter for you guys, especially when these come out in the springtime, likely is going to be another huge step forward for the industry.
Absolutely. And that's why we wanted them with us on it. And Storm, the whole team at Storm, they're like family. They're great people. They all have the same values, same visions, and it's been great. And we knew going back, Jeremy and me, we knew we could not possibly say we could do this on our own and just go to every event and be present because we still have our own snow companies. And that's going to take precedent. So it worked out perfect that Storm partnered up with us on it, and it's a big family thing. And Steve Smythe is going to every event, and Steve's a legend, in his own.
Yeah.
You stole that. I was just going to give him a big shout out. And I was going to say, somebody who I really like kind of from like the shadows, I just love following him. I love everything he does. Steve Smythe. And I love his attitude. I love what he's all about. So, yeah, you stole it right from me. Damn it.
That's gonna be
it's a perfect fit.
he's great. He's great, and he'll be at every storm chasing event. And we're trying to get there. So I mean, I was just out. We filmed East Coast last week or whatever.
Last week.
I flew out to
last
DC.
week.
And I pushed with them guys, and our ghost dog was out there as well as East Coast media. So yeah, we got a lot of footage between, I think it's 5 states we're in, or they're filming in. So it was a good. It should be another good show there too. So
Was that, and this is a little bit of a pivot of what you're just talking about with East Coast facilities. Was that episode 50?
That was the Josh Gomez was
he was
the season 1 finale.
season 1
So
finale.
52.
Or 50,
52.
52. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and I bring this up because I remember thinking like a big deal of like, oh, I'm super excited to hear his mindset towards all this, hit the business they're building. Because those guys are massive. And if you guys don't follow
Monsters.
East Coast facilities, they're so awesome. But was there an episode in your 146 episodes that you remember to be like a game changer, or also on the flip side, an episode that was just a shit show that was like you didn't even put out there? You don't have to mention names, of course, but
Like
There's I mean,
I would say
go ahead,
I would say either Josh's was a really great episode. I mean, that was everybody wanted to hear that, or otherwise Randy Straight obviously was
Randy,
great as
yeah.
well. Randy Straight with Arctic, he
For
was
different reasons.
phenomenal.
Yeah, for different reasons.
Completely different reasons. I mean, just number one, like Josh was, everybody was hyped up because everybody had been hearing about him. And we pumped that show up, and it was great. That's when we really got to know Josh.
Yep.
Gomez from East Coast Steelers.
Yep.
Then we did Randy Street just last a few months back, and we had bad recording. It was like we just said hi, Randy, and it was 2.5 hours long about Randy telling everything, and the recording went to crap. We couldn't, right? It was terrible.
Yeah,
so
they
we
had a
to
bad mic.
We had to redo it, and
oh
you could tell the
no.
story. Steve, you finish this story. I mean, it was like
like Josh's was much anticipated because Josh is like now he is a lightning rod. Basically, he has people that love him. He has people that aren't so crazy about him. So
For
I think
sure.
that episode was much anticipated because he got on there and he gave you pure 100% unfiltered Josh Gomez. He told you where he was going, what he was going to do. If you don't like it, screw you, whatever. But I think that got a lot of people that didn't know him and had a preconceived notion about him.
Sure.
I think that solved that for a lot of people. Like, oh wait, this guy's not like what I thought he was. And that I think it painted a different picture of Josh to most people that listened to that episode. So I think it was a really good for the snow industry in general, because love them or hate them, ECF is here and they're taking over. Like, I mean, they're not slowing down.
Yeah,
So,
the broker killers, right? The clowns.
They are
clown
broken
killer,
killers, clown killers. But yeah, so that was great. That was a great episode for the industry, for those reasons. But as far as for me, being in snow, I mean, I'm gonna be 49 this year, and I've been doing this since I was 18. For me to hear Randy Straight, his story, 40 years in the snow game, and doing it at the highest levels like he has, and how that has transformed into what Arctic is now,
Right.
where you have different branches of Arctic and they're still crushing it. And they've now brought products to market that, are revolution. They've changed the snow industry. Oh, there he is.
There he is. I was wondering
James
if
is
that was
here.
coming.
Yeah. But Randy, I mean, like Jeremy said, you literally said, hi, Randy, and pushed record. And 2.5 hours later, we wrapped it up. And the worst part was we lost that first recording. It was they had a bad mic that it sounded something on the digital end sounded okay. It was low volume for us, a little broken up at times. But when you went to the master to edit, it was totally unusable. Like I had forensic guys trying to do it because I'm like, this is gold. Like 2.5 hours of snow history gold that we can't possibly recreate. So we were heartbroken over it. And I remember telling Lucas straight, dude, we can't use this. Like, I'm so heartbroken over this. And Jeremy was like, how are we going to do this? And Lucas is like, dude, no problem. He will recite that verbatim, that entire story. Luke, when I tell you, I think the first one was 2 hours and 36 minutes. The second one was 2 hours and 32 minutes. And it was 98% verbatim.
Yep,
He
it
hit
was
every
crazy.
story.
That's amazing.
It was
It
so
was
wild. It was
it
so
was
great.
awesome. Yeah, it was
But
great.
Randy's been there. He's done it all, and what he's done product wise, what the
Yeah.
Straight family and Arctic has brought forth product wise to help snow guys. I mean, my business wouldn't be where it is without Arctic.
Right.
Me personally, I can say that. But from machines to the pushers,
Yeah.
they've definitely helped transform my business.
Man, what
So
an
that was a good
icon.
one.
What
Oh,
an icon.
and he's the nicest guy too. Like he's
Oh
the
yeah.
nicest guy.
yeah, Randy's great. I would
Oh,
say one of the other ones that wasn't great was the dog barking one.
Oh yeah, well that
Oh no,
happens time to time.
we hear that one a lot.
so which
Yeah,
Uh,
one?
there
oh,
was I think it was
at Ohio.
we won't
Oh,
name names, but yeah, it was in
everybody
Ohio, and there was it was just a dog barking for
the
20
whole
minutes,
time in the
Oh,
30 minutes.
background. It
Oh,
was.
it was oh,
Everybody says
it was
I.
so
Everybody will give a shit about that one. So it is what it
yeah.
is. But
I mean, I
I mean,
can't
it's,
control it.
yeah. And honestly, since you guys are weekly, we're bi-weekly, it's like you're already so far past it. So it's just the people
Oh
that'll
yeah.
re-listen to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's still whatever. No.
Yeah, it's sometimes a grind getting them out weekly, especially in the winter. Um
Yeah.
like it's snowing now here, so we're gonna have to go out and do this. So you never know when you like we don't have Monday's episode, the 2 year, the
Mm.
season
I know
season
we
two
got to.
finale. We don't have that
I was.
recorded yet.
I was gonna tell you. I just got a text from Mr. Gomez. He wants me on the East Coast this weekend
Oh really?
to,
All
to
right.
go
Well,
plow with him. So we're gonna have to figure something out here.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have to just like use this for the
yeah.
Yeah,
like, yeah, this is
What's
our
he
episode.
paying?
yeah, we could
What's he
do that.
paying?
I don't know.
Oh
Oh
Big
man.
man, I
money.
love it.
Yeah,
So
we're the 2 year the season two finale might be just a conversation, little fly by the seat of our pants. We're just too busy in the winter.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. No, I remember obviously when Luke Payne was part of the podcast, we do that all the time. And those are some of my favorite episodes where it's just
They
him and
are.
I. And because you didn't need to have notes, you didn't need to go into it with any planning. We would
Mhm.
just hit record and we just catch up and we talk. And that's the great part about having somebody that, well, for one, you like, and two like is business sound or is savvy or is charismatic. Like you can just have conversations with them about anything. And then all of a sudden, an hour and a half later, you hit stop and you're like, wow, I think that's a
Yeah,
wrap on that episode.
Yeah,
and generally they're more funny. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
what's going to keep people listening. Keep them laughing.
I,
They're going to keep listening.
Yeah.
those are my favorite. My favorite shows are roundtables or just talking back and forth or
Yeah,
listener questions, which I kind of stole off your guys' show. I
Hmm.
mean, I was like, that's always good to see what they want to know, what they want to ask questions about. That's always fun. So
Yeah, and also it brings them closer to the show, and because of course, you'll give them a shout out. Like this question came from Glacier Snow Management. Give them a follow on Instagram. Here's what they ask, and we love doing that because truly is like us three wouldn't be doing this if nobody listened. And so
no,
the
we owe
fact
it
that
all to
they're
them.
right, we owe it all to them, and so like the very very least we could do is for one try to answer their question. Two, give them some recognition. That's why in the last 10 episodes, I've been way more prevalent on putting their Instagram handle in there, their website, things like that, just because I mean, they deserve it all. And then one
Yeah,
thing, and I don't know if you guys do this for sure, but one thing I just added in the last few episodes is a spot in the episode for a shout out. It could be a shout out for an item, a thing, a person, a place, like whatever it is. Just an opportunity for you and your guests to give a shout out, and that's kind of fun too because it
good
doesn't
idea.
cost us anything, but it can make a small impact on somebody listening.
yeah.
I
We
give a
we
shout out right now.
go ahead.
Let's do it.
Uh, Christian Leftley at Winwood.
Oh
Since I
my
got
dude.
called
Oh
out for not
Jesus.
doing, since I got called out for
Oh,
not calling him out on our show. So there you go,
oh my
Christian.
good Lord.
Christian
Yeah, yeah.
Leffley,
That's
and
ballsy coming on your show and calling us out.
man,
That's great.
I'm glad you
But
heard that too. His
Yeah, I listen to
that's
your show.
yeah.
Don't,
I know you do actually, and I
yeah,
know Steve is here and there, but
Here and there, here and
um,
there.
yeah,
I can be
Jeremy,
honest.
you always hit me up when you're listening, but
yeah.
also too wanted to bring this up, and this kind of goes back to my public perception, but one thing I want to thank you guys for is taking the industry, taking business seriously in your relationships, but also we have our Phaser fundraiser every year, the Snowjobs Podcast, like a podcast where you guys are just talking through microphones, sponsored the Phaser fundraiser last year. So on both ends, that is so cool. For one, that you guys have money in the podcast where you can do something like that, but two, where you guys feel the need that, hey, we can help out a cause that I put together for the kids of the Detroit Lakes community, and you can put something together to help for that. So I am huge on that, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate that. But I just think it says so much about you guys and your listeners and your followers because, man, what I realize is if you just put that shit out there, like people will get behind you and your listeners, our listeners. And so, really trying to focus more on that in the years to come of just like, what impact can we make? Like, can we do something bigger than we're even thinking? And so, huge shout out to you guys for stepping up big time, sponsoring that. Jeremy, we're doing the polar plunge again this year, so we'll have to recruit you to jump in the lake with us.
Oh,
Definitely.
yeah,
He'll do it.
I heard that
He'll
you're doing
do it.
that.
He's
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Do it
So
with my
that'll
coat.
be fun. February 22nd. If anyone listening wants to come up to Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, you can be on Team Phaser. I'm buying all the beers and the food before at Lakeside. We jump in the lake. They cut out a big block of ice, and we have our whole team do it, and then we have some more beers after. It's a great time.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, it's
Oh,
our
yeah.
pleasure, dude. It's our
Yeah, well,
pleasure to
it's
help
definitely
out.
to a good cause, and obviously, I'm speaking for Steve here. We'll just lock us down for the same thing next year, so or whatever.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah,
Heck
it's a
yeah.
good
No,
cause.
I
So
mean, we didn't set out we weren't doing this because we were thinking, hey, this could be a big money maker.
right.
But I mean, if we do make money off it, which I mean, I'm going to speak for both of us on this. If we weren't making money now, at least a little money, it wouldn't be worth the time
Yep.
that it has to. I mean, we'd still do it, but my God, is it a grind sometimes? Like,
It
because
is.
what you just said, we owe everything to the guys listening to this show that are promoting it on their own and telling everybody they know. Listen, like we are not, we're not professional,
Mm-hmm.
talk show hosts or anything like that. It's all of our listeners that are doing this and propelling us forward and making us go in more and more directions because they want more. So that where the time consumption comes in is every person. I challenge you to find one of our listeners that says that they reach out to us either via email, the website, uh, Instagram, anything. We don't immediately respond within an hour to 2 hours. Like we repost everything that we're tagged in. And sometimes it's a lot. Like nowadays, where half the country is getting snow, it's what, Jeremy,
yeah,
45, 50 fucking DMs a day
yeah,
that
Insane.
we're tagged
yeah,
in that we're
yeah, yeah.
redoing.
We just try. I mean, we try our best to get back to guys as quick as we
You
can. And
have to.
yeah, then
You
we're
have
like,
to.
we've been trying to do some more of these Instagram lives and stuff like that. When guys are out
Yeah.
following, just to kind of, you know, touch base with everybody and just kind of get the feel. And so that's always fun. I love talking to guys out there
Yeah.
doing their thing. I mean, they're people just like us, and we all do the same thing. And I'm just a snow junkie. I mean, you gotta kind of be sick in the head to do this job, and I apparently am. So,
Right. Apparently, we're pretty
you
sick.
you don't I mean you could still have a podcast if nobody's listening because podcasts any idiot can do a podcast, but you don't have a community
Yeah.
around a podcast without the people listening to it. So if they're taking the time to listen and they're taking the time to reach out to you, you need to donate 5 minutes to each person that's doing that. Get to know them.
Yeah.
They're all cool as shit. Like that is the one thing we've learned. We've met so many awesome people at the events we've gone to, by talking to them, bringing them on the show. It's been a wild last year, though 2024 especially was
Mm-hmm.
just insane. It was absolutely insane. Jeremy, we
all
were
the
signing
events.
autographs at events. Like
It's
I'm not even
crazy.
shitting you. I thought the first guy was fucking with me. I thought we were gonna have a problem. And
That
he's
was
like, no, no,
crazy.
no. Can you sign my Snowjobs hat? Like, are you kidding me? Like, we've gotten to this point. Like, this makes no
Yeah,
sense. This
no.
this is so stupid.
It is so stupid. But
So dumb.
you appreciate it so much. You're just
Oh,
like, man.
Yes.
And Steve, to your point, I feel the same way. If somebody is willing, when I look at our merchandise, like if somebody's like, hey, Luke, can I buy one of those Phaser dog hats? And if they've spent $25, like I'll do anything for them. And that's why I load up the
Yeah.
box with as much shit as I can. And I write the handwritten note because I'm like, if they wanted to spend any amount of money on, and it goes the same thing with spending their time listening to our podcast, but any amount of monetary value to into something that I created or you guys created, like you try and give them that 5 minutes, try and give them
Yeah.
the 10 minutes, try and give them the world. And so I am huge on that. And one thing that really helps me, and I think could help any entrepreneur listening, is build one fan at a time. And the reason I say fan is because somebody that can shout your name, somebody that has your back, somebody that, really supports you and what you're doing. But don't build 100 at a time, build one at a time. And I think that just really helps you focus on like the conversation you're having, like talking to that person. Is there anything you can do to surprise them? I know you guys do some great stuff with like babies. You'll have like the little snow
Oh
jobs
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah,
Done
it just,
pushing.
yeah.
yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
what is it again?
Done
It's
pushing on the back instead of
done
keep
pushing on the
pushing.
back is yeah.
Arrow
Keep pushing
pointing
on the
down
front.
towards the butt.
Yeah, yeah. And
You
then we
know?
got done pushing. So yeah, so
But
Uh,
Luke, to what you just said, I agree 100%. And the thing is, if you have to give them something that they need, like if
yeah,
they have a problem and they reach out to you with a problem, whether it's a manufacturer, a dealer issue, and you have the ability, how many times, Jeremy, do we get phone calls or texts saying, I got this problem, I can't get a hold of this guy and I need this fixed? And we
yeah,
make like one phone call, two phone calls, putting people in touch with other people,
right.
and boom,
yep,
it's done. It's taken care of.
yeah.
Like help the
Mm-hmm.
guys out, help the guys
Right.
get what they need. And there's one story, Luke, because you asked this question and it's to your point that you just made. You wanted to talk analytics a little bit
Yeah,
about the show after 2 years. So according to Spotify, we have listeners in 20 different countries.
let's go.
Zencaster has us at 34 different countries that have
Yep.
listens. We have our own apparel, snowjobsnationstore.com, shameless plug.
Shout
We
out.
have our own, we have our own apparel line, and we got an order. Uh, Spotify was telling us for the last 2 years that we have listeners in Australia. Not a
Yeah.
lot, but like 17, 18 listeners in Australia. And we thought it was BS. We thought it was maybe snow
Sure.
guys from the States on vacation listening while they were there. We got an apparel order from Victoria, Australia.
No
Yeah.
And
way.
now he bought
Yeah.
he ordered like what, Jeremy? $165 sweatshirt and the shipping was
Yeah. Something like that.
$200.
It was. So I just filled this box with a bunch of other stuff. I was like, dude, if it's
That's
going
it.
You
that far, it
got to
took
do it at
like
that
3
point.
weeks.
You
It took like
gotta.
3 weeks to get there too. It took
Oh,
forever. I kept watching the Shopify deal. I'm like, where? No, it's not there yet. I'm like,
yeah,
Jesus,
you,
this
you got to
thing's
hook them up at that point.
You
I do the
gotta.
yeah.
same thing.
Oh,
Anytime I mail something over the border, it's gonna take 3 months. It's expensive as shit. So it's like, okay, let's just what size shirt are you? Okay, what size
yeah.
sweatshirt? What hat? You just start loading
Yeah.
it up, and it. I mean, something like that though. Somebody in Australia is willing to rep the Snowjobs brand. Like, how
Yeah.
crazy is that?
Yeah.
We didn't even know they get snow. We learned something that Victoria,
Yeah.
Australia apparently gets 3 to 4 snow events a year.
Right. It's crazy.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy.
Well,
But
he's in
yeah, so
like John Stark. Stark, he was down in Florida. He's from Arctic. He's an Arctic's main man there, and he was down in Florida at some race, and some kid in front of him, like 3 years wearing a snow job sweatshirt. He's like, "What the hell?" Yeah, it was kind of funny. I thought, but yeah,
it was pretty trippy to go to Equip
Yeah.
and SIMA this year. So SIMA was in June, Equip was in October. It was pretty trippy to see how many people at the show had our hats, sweatshirts,
yeah,
stickers on
hmm
vehicles. That was crazy.
yeah, that was great. It
So it's a
was,
big responsibility, though. It makes you
It
feel
is.
responsibility when everybody is wearing that stuff. And I think Jeremy and myself will be the first to tell you, like the snow jobs is not us. Like we just
Yeah.
got the ball rolling. It's a
hmm
community now. Like it's
right,
its own thing that everybody's a part of, and
Yep.
as much or as little as they want to be. But I think there's a lot of pride in that name. Like they have the snow jobs logos on their plows, on their machines, on their it's everywhere. One guy in Ohio put it on his shop entrance door, right next to his
yeah,
company name. There's a giant Snow Jobs Nation logo.
Man.
yeah.
Crazy.
It's pretty
It's
cool.
great.
I
But
mean,
it's a lot of responsibility that comes with that.
mhm.
Right. And also too, it's just going to keep building too. And that's the goal is so, yeah, what do you do with that brand loyalty? Like, do you keep improving it or do you, crush it and ruin it and everything you built? And so obviously the goal is
No.
to like keep
Yeah,
bringing people in. And Steve, we had this conversation maybe a year ago or 6 months ago and I don't want to quote it exactly, but it was something like a big corporate company was interested in potentially buying, the snow jobs. And it just, I don't want to speak for you guys, but it's hard to see that working
It
when the
won't work.
snow jobs is you guys but like you said, it's all the guys in the industry.
Yeah,
right.
and if you told Jeremy and I who we were talking to, who we had to talk to, like if we were being told who our guests were going to be and what we were supposed to cover and say, you might as well shoot us both because we're not fucking doing that. Like
And you're not going to
it's like
stick to
not
the
even
script.
no, it's
No,
if we had to, it wouldn't be worth our time. It wouldn't be
No.
worth our time. That's not who we are. We'll do our own thing. We're fine where we're at. Thank you for the interest. See you.
Yeah, no, we're not going to be told what to say or do.
Non-starter. We're not
That just
we'll
doesn't
never
happen.
sell out. Yeah, we'll never
That
sell
doesn't
out.
happen.
If you want to be a part
we're
of the
wild
show,
cards. We're
yeah,
wild cards.
absolutely. We have to be. The popularity of the show depends on it. Like we have to be able to call products out that fail and that aren't stood behind. We have to be able to do that. And if we can't because we're beholden to one company or another, and that's why it's right in the sponsorship agreements. Like you are not shielded from fire for bad products or bad service just because you are a partner with the show right now. Like if you screw up and do not make it right, you will be called out.
Yeah.
And to their credit, they're all okay with that.
Yeah.
And they've done it. They've backed up what they've said they're going to do. All of our partners, Plowright had a bad batch of steaks that the color was fading on them. He's like, Matt was like, get me who'd you hear this from? Get me names, get me address, get me, and he sent boom, replaced them all. Like in 2 days, replaced them all. Snow Power Rick is driving all over the place. They're not even a sponsor of the show, but they're driving all over the country delivering parts.
In an ice storm.
How crazy is that?
10 hours drove 10 hours in an ice storm to get Steve Smythe going. It was like
MVP right there.
What other plow manufacturer is doing that?
Right.
Nobody. Rick's out of his goddamn mind doing that, but
that's why right now, Steve Smythe.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, answer it. Put him on speaker.
Answer it?
Yeah, for sure. Tell him you're on the podcast.
Steve. What's happening? I'm on the podcast right now with Luke from Phaser Marketing and Steve.
What's up, Steve?
Dirtbag.
I suppose he probably can't even hear us.
On the podcast?
Yeah, you're on.
Hey, perfect. Is it the Phaser podcast or Snowjobs?
Phaser right now.
Yep, yes, sir.
Dirtbags.
What's happening, Mr. Phaser?
I don't even know if he can hear me, but yeah. Did you tell him we gave him a shout out?
Yeah, Luke can't hear you, but Luke gave you a shout out earlier. He's telling you everybody how great you are. So I don't know how you got him on your side, but you did.
Nice.
So just said in South Dakota too. They're like storm is just over the top.
Yeah, and we were just talking about that about contractors that are like businesses that are over top. Like Snowplow Rick driving down to Kansas City to deliver a part to you. 10 hours in ice storm.
Kansas City drives 15 hours or whatever it was down there to get us up and going, and we were able to plow the next morning.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Does that?
Yeah.
Like those are the kind of people you want to buy products from.
Stop.
Yeah. Hey, I'll call you back after the show here. I don't want to. All right, bye.
See you, Steve.
Bye.
Oh, I love it.
He's a great guy.
Good timing
Steve's
there.
The best.
Yeah.
Steve's the best.
He must have been knowing I was talking about him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been the best people to partner up with is the people they're going to stand behind their stuff. They have a good product and they're willing to listen to make their product better.
Yeah.
Like they're open. You got a problem, you don't like something. Hey, how can I improve it? It's been great relationships with our partners. And we can't thank them enough.
Yeah. So 2 things. If you want to give any additional shout outs to those sponsors on the show, please do. And then second thing is, are you guys open for additional sponsors or how does that work? Is it, you guys are kind of always taking them or just listening? But yeah, if you want to dive into that a little bit here.
I mean, we'll talk to anybody.
Sure.
I think the conversation, you always have to have the conversation, except for, like I said, if you already know this is a cheaply made product that's mass produced and put out to a dealer network that they can't control the quality over, from dealer to dealer. That's not really what we want to do. Right? Would you agree with that, Jay?
100%. Yeah, that's kind of what we always talk about. So we're gonna
like the conversation can be had, but like we've said on our show before, like there's certain criteria you're gonna have to meet to just make it past the front gate.
Yeah,
because otherwise it's better served by others. It's not a great relationship. It's not a good fit, for what we do. But who has muskox since episode 6, 7?
Really. Yep.
Right off the bat. I think we talked about the muskox in one of the first couple episodes, and they had a trade show, a small like regional trade show, and they
Yeah.
ended up selling a couple. Oh, somebody told me to come to this booth. My kid listened to a snow podcast, the Snowjobs or something. And Adam was like, "Yeah, sign us up, dude. What can we do? Like, how can we be
That's
involved?"
crazy.
And then,
Yeah.
Top Gun has been there.
Yep.
Yep.
Since
Rob.
very very early on. Rob is a phenomenal guy. He just does not know the word quit, and they make a great back blade. And again, we have a lot of products that are niche products, like
Mhm.
that are partners with us, and they're not gonna work for everybody. Like a
Right.
back blade does not work for everybody, but if it works for you, then there you go.
Yeah.
There's a
There you go.
product, yeah, bulletproof, and that they're going to stand behind and make right. If there's
Arctic
a
Snow and
problem,
Ice came on board. They're
Arctic.
great. I mean, they speak from the sound. Arctic's just a phenomenal brand. I mean, no matter.
Arctic needs no explanation. I mean,
Yeah,
that
they're just.
that was our first, I would say, mainstream like
Mhm.
monster. Like, holy crap, we've like Arctic is talking to us like we've arrived, kind of thing. Like, this
Right.
is now, if Arctic is recognized that you have a foothold in this industry and a following, then I think that's a feather in our cap right there. And
Yeah.
they're the Straight family, awesome, all of them, like every one of them, and the extension of the Straight family, John Stark, Big Daddy. That
Yeah.
guy is amazing. Like, he is so, between him and Randy, you're talking what, 73 years, Jeremy, in snow?
Yeah. Yeah. Something like
Like,
that. At
between the
least.
two of them, they've been there, they've done it, they've made every mistake in the book, and they're
Mhm.
willing, like they do episodes with us now monthly, the Arctic Army roll call episode. And
Mhm.
that is literally just Arctic. What can we do to better the industry? What can
Right.
we can pass on information that's going to help guys do it better. And that's what they're doing. And John gave a 2-hour episode, two-parter, and he just talked about Arctic operations because he's the head of Arctic Snow, the snow
Yeah.
management company. He
And
does
they
that.
blend it.
That was crazy. I mean, it was
It's
just
great.
crazy to hear all the, because they've made every mistake. They've done it. They've dialed it in the last
Mhm.
40 years.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
well, but put yourself in their shoes. And I think this is important. So Arctic has been around forever, and obviously they're very, very, very focused on snow. And then you look at a podcast that typically only talks to people in the snow industry at 8,500 a week potentially. And then it's like that is the perfect match. And so when I look at it with the Dirtbags podcast as well, there's a lot of those perfect match where it's like we can help connect those resources to the industry pretty easily because it's so specific, it's so niche. So when I look at a company like Arctic, to me it's a no-brainer. Like when they look at their budget and they see like what they can do is in terms of education in the industry, but also exposure and just continuing to innovate and drive the industry forward, like being involved in your podcast and being involved as a sponsor and just pushing the industry forward is really a small piece of like their whole budget if you look at it monetarily. But like the impact it can make, I'm sure as you guys have seen with most of your sponsors, is you can't even quantify it because it's like, yeah, your ROI is through the roof, but that's not what it's all about. It's about, giving these people what they need.
And Arctic doesn't need the exposure. They're
Right.
Arctic.
Right.
They are
Yeah.
literally just there. When they approached, it was, how can we help you
Mhm.
continue what the heck you've been doing as far as
Mhm.
elevating the industry, educating the industry. And hey, if you're willing to share some of that knowledge, that's how we do it. That's
Yeah.
give it to them, and they're perfectly willing to do it, which is outstanding for a manufacturer. But
Open
they're a
book.
manufacturer with roots in snow. They still are an actual functioning snow management company. So
Man.
they just happen to make the best plows out there.
Yep. 100%.
So it's
So,
great because they don't need us. They definitely don't
yeah.
need the snow jobs. They're Arctic, but they're all about promoting the snow industry and educating.
Snow
It's great.
industry. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's when you get to that size, and this is just my opinion. Obviously, we're not that big of a company, but that would be my guess is that is your next chapter of like, well, how can we push the industry forward? How can we help educate? How can we help with the resources that we have? And yeah, and I think it all just comes around as well. So you're right, like they don't need one person to buy a snowplow from them, and like that's gonna help. But it all helps like with their whole mission of probably what they're looking to do. So
Mhm.
so 2-year birthday. You guys are heading into year 3. anything new that we should be aware of? Obviously, we have storm chasing. We've got some other things. Anything else that before we kind of wrap up here that you guys want to talk about that we have kind of in the hopper coming up for the snow jobs?
Um, See how quick we can get to 1 million listens. We're at 508,000 now.
What? So let's see, 508,000, 2 years. You did your first 100. Man, so you're how many months would that be, do you think, if you kept at the growth rate?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say when we're going to level off, if we level
Mm-hmm.
off,
True,
because
true.
our listenership went up 100% already this year on Spotify. It was up 200% on Apple. So it's like it's so hard. That's the problem with podcasts. Every platform, we're on like 16 different platforms.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own demographics and analytics. It's like I honestly stopped compiling. The only reason why I know that number was I looked at the our top three platforms that we're on. That I mean, we probably have more than 500,000 listens. I just only tallied the Zencaster,
top
Apple, and
three.
Spotify because
Right.
that's the bulk. That's 70% of our total listens are those three platforms.
What would be number 4?
I don't know, like Podbay, something like
Yeah.
that, like the little Castro, some like the little stuff you've never heard of, but they're there. They're on, when you
Yeah.
look them up, they're there and they're getting listens here and there.
Are you
But
guys
yeah,
heavier on Spotify over Apple Podcasts?
no, we're three
Either
times
way?
heavier on Apple. Yeah.
Apple.
Interesting. Ours is
How about you?
surprisingly Spotify. And I was
Really?
looking, yeah, because you guys have 130 5-star reviews on Spotify, which is amazing. I think we have like 70 or something. But yeah, it was always Spotify, but now I'm seeing a shift and it's almost even. It's like 44% Spotify, 44% Apple Podcast, and the rest of the small ones.
Well,
Hmm.
the funny thing is we have the same amount of listeners on Apple and Spotify, but the Apple listeners are listening to it more than once. Spotify is listening
Die
to it
hard.
once. Like that's the only way I can explain the numbers. So I mean, we're 20, like I said, 20 different countries on Spotify, 34 different countries on Zencaster. Our consumption rate is awesome. It's better than 84%
Oh
overall for
man, that's
100
incredible.
and something. And then the average time length is 1 hour and 32 minutes of an episode.
So
So
that is probably my favorite metric to look at, especially in podcasting,
yeah,
because
your
it
consumption.
it doesn't matter how many people started the episode, but if you're having an hour and 30 minutes and then like you said 84% retention rate, like that is incredible. And especially when it comes to bringing on sponsors, like if you guys have end of episode ad reads, like you can show them like, hey, 84% of our listeners are still listening. So yes, it might be a little cheaper to be at the end, but the way I look at it is those are like the real fans, the ones that are listening through. And
Mhm.
it's over already, but the episode we did with Christian Leffley, we implemented a little code word in there towards the end of the episode. And anyone that messaged me or him with that code word, we're going to send them a bunch of merch. And so it was crazy to see how many people messaged us that word. And I was like, damn, you guys really listen to an hour and a half of this stuff? Like that's pretty impressive.
I think they listen because they listen right till the final music rolls because they never know what the hell we're gonna say.
Yeah.
Like at
Yeah. Yeah.
any time it could go off in another direction and
Yeah,
we could
we
True.
can
have
go off the
like
rails
radio
real quick.
gold. Yeah.
We can
We
go
could
off the
have
rails
absolute
real quick.
yep,
Yeah.
radio gold at 59 minutes and 10 seconds.
It's like when you look at the slider and you guys are wrapping up, it sounds like, but there's still like half the episode left. You're like, what is going on? And then you
Yeah.
just kind of go off the rails somewhere else. And
Yeah.
Start
And
talking
they're
about the weatherman
diehards,
or something.
honestly. They're diehards. Snow guys are diehard about snow, and
They're loyal.
most of our
Loyal.
listeners are, yeah, super loyal, and they're diehard listeners, and that's awesome. It's a
yeah,
huge responsibility, but we're up to it.
yeah, absolutely. I know, and I'll have to look again. I don't want to butcher it, but our Spotify Wrapped, you know how it says,
Yep.
you know, people that listen to your podcast also listen to, of course, Snowjobs was in there, like Andy Frisella's podcast, and it's just so cool because they go hand in hand. And I know a lot of people that I talk to that listen to our podcast, they also listen to yours. But like I mentioned at the beginning, for anyone still listening, if you haven't listened to Snowjobs podcast, go check it out. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, so you get those notifications. Because I mean, you guys are pumping them out every week, if not more. And then especially, quick question on that actually, with when it comes to the storm chasing, where will that be broadcasted?
YouTube to
YouTube.
start.
YouTube right now. Hopefully
Okay.
you want to sell it. So That's right. Steve?
License it. License it.
License it. Yeah,
We'll
that's
see.
a whole. I mean, that's kind of what I would say it's I'd say it's our goal. I mean, I would like
Sure.
to. I mean, because it's to me, I love this industry and I want it. I want it out there. I mean, I love watching the gold rushers and stuff like that. So
Dude, I was just gonna say that.
I want us to be one of those because
Yeah.
we're just as much characters and what we do is pretty damn cool. I think so. I mean,
I
shit.
don't think that is a crazy goal because you look at shows like that on Discovery Channel that have popped off and have been around forever. It's
Mhm.
shows that the public now get to see into and are becoming addicted to, like Gold Rush. But I can totally see that with the snow industry. So I don't think that's a crazy thing to set as a goal because, I mean, you guys are making waves on the back end with the podcast, but then also putting this out through YouTube. I'm super excited to see what it does on YouTube as well and like the numbers there, but just like to see the final product of some of these episodes rolling out.
Mhm. Definitely, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Steve, you got something?
yeah,
Smiling.
he's smirking.
No,
over.
I was smiling because I didn't know if I muted before the dog started barking.
Oh, you got it. It wasn't like Jeremy
Yeah.
muting it and
All
then
right.
Yeah, and
coughing
then
right
muting,
into the
coughing right
mic.
into mic.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, boys, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming back on the show. Steve, thank you for texting me and jumping right on today. So glad to have
No
you guys
problem.
on. Jeremy, it'd be great to see you at the Polar Plunge, February 22nd. We'll have you on the team there. And then of course, Steve, I'll let you know on dates for our phaser fundraiser this upcoming fall. It'd be great to have you suited up in a little tuxedo there and get together with the whole gang. So,
He
See
doesn't
if I
like to
can
get on an
make it.
airplane. He doesn't like to get on an airplane.
oh,
If
come
I don't
on.
have to.
Well,
I don't have to. We'll see. We got a lot of events now. We're all over the place. We're in demand.
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
fun.
You
Events are the best.
you could link it up with like a Mankato trip or something because we're 5 hours north of there, and then I'll travel down with you guys back to Mankato. We'll do the whole thing, go see Jordan, go see the
Absolutely.
whole crew,
We'll
and
get it done.
make it happen. So.
Really.
But awesome. All right,
Sounds
guys.
good,
Well,
bud.
I appreciate it. For anyone still listening, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe our channel. And of course, the Snowjobs Podcast. And give Steve and Jeremy a follow on Instagram. You got at Glacier Snow Management, at All Hands Landscaping, and of course, at the Snowjobs Podcast. All right, boys. Thanks again, and excited to have you on
Thank
the
you.
next one.
Thank you,
Thank all
buddy.
your listeners. Appreciate you.